Morning, how are you? Good. Hi.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good.
It's breezy this morning.
It is.
I was like, not expecting that. Like, ow. How are you guys? Did you see you guys got, I sent it to Linda, this, like, food blogger in Denver, did our Mata Tower.
Yeah, she showed that to me this morning, which was, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a couple years old though.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
It's still cool.
But it was great, yeah, it's a great video,
It's
yeah.
a really good video. It's like, it's cool content for sure. Yeah, I don't know who that guy is, but
She seemed to have known, she's seen him before or something, or seen some of his other posts.
I don't know how many, but all content is good content, not necessarily. I should take that back, but. Did Jess ever send you her, budget stuff?
If she did, I have not checked the email for Wednesday, so
Okay.
I'm off on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, so.
There. That's really bad.
Although this is the one exception, sure.
Yeah. Morning, Gary. How are you?
Hey, Gary.
Just so you have it. Because she's got stuff. We told her that she needed to put up some numbers together.
Big crash up on the hill,
Where?
226, or just a little bit west of there, two semis.
Oh, is the highway closed?
Goes up to 221.
Great. We're gonna have to date. We're gonna have a highway closure.
I know, they had a huge crash last night down there by the 244.
Hi, last night.
Way east of Ivory Springs, great big huge crash. Going west.
Yeah, they'll call for audience
Side of
presence
Floyd
after
Hill,
the
the bottom.
agenda approval.
There was a big crash there last night.
I saw that there was a big one in Denver.
Right after the agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your name?
Yeah, every day we're on the highway, I'm like,
Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh.
Thank you.
no, I was wondering if we had anybody, looks like we had a couple.
They've been on that call for 2 hours.
Real.
Huge.
Did it roll, or was it just a crash?
Just a crash, 2 semis.
I know, it's.
Had to call
It's sad, and we're
ASCAP.
like just the.
One of the semi trucks had a ruptured diesel tank, fuel tank. So then they had to call in hazmat for that.
Yeah. You can tell in the days that, like, I mean, that crash last Tuesday was so awful, the one that they had the highway closed forever, but we didn't get a major delivery because of it. And, because they didn't get down from Silver. So we're all sitting like,
Hang on,
Yeah.
should we move over? So we're not like-
Yeah.
We're listing left.
Sort of forms.
I know Jessica
Yeah.
cannot make it.
Just,
Jessica,
Jessica's
Trevette.
not, Jessica works
And,
downstairs.
Yeah, I'm talking about for.
Yeah, for, sorry.
And,
This application again.
Paul is out of town, so.
Okay.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to the Georgetown Business Promotion Commission meeting on Wednesday, August 2nd, 2023. It's 8:02 a.m. We're at Town Hall at 404 6th Street. Could I have a roll call, please?
Okay, roll call is Chairman Kevin Kahara,
Present?
Amanda Cooper. Here. Mary Smith.
Here.
Gary Haynes.
Here.
I'll vote. Justin Dowd and Jessica Trevette are absent.
And Craig.
And Craig.
And Craig.
I think Craig should, I don't know.
Could we have an agenda approval, please?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
It's been seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Audience business. Members of the audience will have 5 minutes to present any matter of concern to the commission. No official action may be taken at this time. Those viewing on television may phone in comments to 303-569-2555, extension 7, or use the Zoom application. So,
I have a request.
yes, sir.
When you get to the regular agenda, could you do the Strauss Park thing early?
You're on number one.
You're.
Oh, okay, good. So I don't have a copy of the agenda.
You
Sorry.
can have this one.
You're number one.
Thank you. We'll place it here. Okay.
No problem. So any audience business?
I have I don't know.
Could you introduce yourself and tell us your address where you
My
live?
name is Mark Stavrou. I live at 1022 Biddle in Georgetown. I don't know if this is the proper place to bring this question out, but I thought I'd make a suggestion about, for the business of town to, maybe erect or construct, or if there could, maybe we could get some recommendations about having like a storage unit for kayaks or canoes down by the lake that would be approved by the town. And I have sent an email to Rick, the town administrator, about this also. So he's kind of aware of this request, but I have a larger canoe. It's like 16 foot and it's not easy to transport. And if I could like store it down there in a locked thing, like maybe a rack or something that they use to store kayaks. And it would be like approved by the town and maybe for town use, for local usage. You know, I love the lake and it's a great resource and I'd love to do that. I ride my bike around it, but I'd love to, you know, paddle my canoe around it too, but I don't do that as often as I ride my bike. And if the canoe was down there, I could use it more often and that way, you know, for me, it's quite a chore, especially if you're by yourself for one person to kind of, you know, get it up and down and in and out and everything. So that was just my idea, and I just thought maybe this might be a good place to kind of bring it up. And I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but I thought, well, I'll give it a shot anyway.
Sure. Yeah, this group, we focus on trying to stimulate the economic environment, businesses, to create tax revenue for the town. So I think that your contact with Rick is correct. And I'm wondering if maybe this would fall under Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Parks and Rec might be a better match for you.
Okay.
Okay.
I think it's a good idea, though. I have a 17-foot canoe, exactly what you think.
Yeah. I mean, you know, the kayaks are kind of easy to transport, you know, so, you know, you can almost carry them and, you know, put them inside the vehicle, or they're easier to put up. Mine is a little heavier and a little more cumbersome.
Sure. Seems like a potential moneymaker for the town, like renting lockers almost.
Right,
Yeah,
and we
that's a good
do
idea.
talk about trying to promote the use of the lake,
And
so.
monetize it.
Yeah,
So,
so,
yeah, talk to Rick and Parks and Rec, and good luck. I think it sounds like a good idea.
All right, thanks, guys.
Parks is Parks is tomorrow night, right?
No, the meeting tomorrow's canceled,
Oh.
so.
And so you're welcome to stay if you're interested. You don't have to bug out.
I'll try. Thanks.
Thank you.
Take care.
You can come over with us.
yeah, we're kind of like lopsided.
You don't have to be isolated over there.
That's all I.
You're just observing today. Okay, very good.
I like that idea though.
Yeah, it seems reasonable.
We've got somebody else.
Okay, and,
They're for welcoming new business owners.
okay. We're up to welcome business owners. It is what it is, 410 6th Street. You're on.
Hello, everybody. I know some of you folks right now, Gary, Amanda, everybody, Kevin, morning. Yeah, so we're going to be opening up this Saturday for basically a grand opening. So I would like to invite everybody to come across, and a lot of business in town, which is great. Just trying to get the business up and going. I had people trying to come in and so forth like that. Is if there's anything that we can do to promote any business down this part of the street, because Kevin, you know, it's kind of hard to get people down here. Please let me know. I do have one question. Is there any possibility that we can get one of those little balloon guys that that's air and kind of fly all over the place to kind of get some attraction down here? Is that okay? Or is that kind of like a sign thing or something?
I think that goes into the sign ordinance,
Okay.
and that is monitored by DRC, is that correct?
I mean, in the town, do you want to just have it for one day? Is that what you're thinking? Or how long do you want to have the balloon guy for?
Just, I mean, whatever you guys would allow, because I was thinking about putting it on the roof and tying it down. So it's not basically not in the pathway of visitors and the sidewalk or anything like that. It would be tied down on the roof.
Why don't we talk about it later, because this commission doesn't really have anything to do with the.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll stop by a little bit later and talk to you.
Okay, sounds good.
And Tina, just for the record, could you introduce yourself and tell us the location of your business too, for the record?
Sure. My name's Tina Fleming, and Opened Up It Is What It Is, and it is a new consignment for local artists to come in and express themselves in the store. It also is an outdoor store with prospecting, where we are manufacturing some sluice boxes and energy batteries. The batteries will not be stored here. They're coming straight from the factory. So if you know anybody that would like to rent a space, they're more than welcome. The prices are very reasonable. What I'd like to do is how we have the Christmas market for the first 2 weekends. I like to do that for the artists for the whole year. So they can express themselves. It's going to be very exciting. So if you know anyone, please bring them over. And we also sell selling pet essentials. So we would like to take some suggestions about dog food and anything else that our town would like, our locals that they would like to see here. Would love to see that. I did talk to Parker yesterday at Colorado Day. He was at History Colorado, and so were we for the railroad. I am the mine manager at the Georgetown Loop Railroad. And he said Parker's going to come over and visit us on Saturday for our open day. So I hope to see everybody there.
Great.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Thank
great.
you.
Good luck.
All right, new and unfinished business. First on the agenda, Bob Hamilton. Mr. Hamilton, Strauss Park update, please.
Okay, I left you a handout, which is Feel free to go through. I just wanted to point out a couple of things that, we did revise the application to CDOT for the grant, and that went in on on July 14th. We hope to hear something, mid-August on that. Recognizing that we didn't get the grant, in the first round as we had hoped, we kind of reshaped the project and broke it into 3 phases. The town authorized proceeding with phase 1 or phase 3A, which is getting all the undergrounds in the park. That work is almost complete. We got stuff done yesterday. We got the stuff in the parking lot underground and the gas line underground. We'll be cleaning up in there over the next couple of days. We're hoping to get the concrete going in next week, and that should pretty well wrap up that phase, and then we'll, over the rest of the month, we'll get things hopefully in shape for putting the flagstone down. The town worked out an arrangement with Lions Flagstone so that we could order it and not have to pay for it until we receive it, so that order has been placed. I don't have a delivery time. It was 6 to 8 weeks, so it's going to be a ways out there yet. One of the big things that'll help us budget-wise and actually help us get to having a fire pit operational this fall is the town approved using a different funding source that the town has to go ahead and fund the fire pit. So that comes out of the CDOT stuff, and that's been authorized, and we're proceeding to get the materials on order for that. The gas line went in yesterday, the underground part of it, so that's on track. And then we'll be building the fire pit starting as soon as the foundation is poured. The whole budget, and there's financial information in here that you can browse through. 3 phases for the project now. Phase A being the underground stuff that we're doing now. B will be the hardscape in the park, and we're gonna try and get as much of that done. I'd like to get plantings in, at least in the plaza area this fall. So that's kind of a goal that I have, and we'll see how that works out. It depends on how everything else comes together, and then finish up the parking lot next spring. And we'll need budget in the 2024 budget, probably about 100,000, which I'm sure the town will figure out where to get that from, to get the final paving done in the parking lot. The one question I do have for you is, I'm expecting as soon as we get the floor poured in the concession, at the permanent concession area, I want to go ahead and get that built. So I'm hoping that that'll start and maybe even be completed in the month of August. A question I have is, there are 2 10-foot booths there. Do we need an entrance from the exterior? Well, the only entrance you could have is from the exterior. Do we need one at each end, or would one entrance for the whole 20-foot section be sufficient? It's a matter of whether we build, 2 entrances. It'd be similar to what we had before with the door that swings out and the countertop that swings out probably about 3 feet wide, so you can get in and out. Do you see that being separated as 2 booths, or it would probably be generally used as a single booth for?
This is the concession area?
Yeah, this is the L-shaped section.
I could see 2 vendors in there. As we develop things down the road, and it would be terribly inconvenient if one vendor was tripping over somebody else's stuff. And
Which booth is it, Bob?
It's the one that's it's the one on the L section.
closest to the brewery.
Where that's
So it's the
got,
one that the
Yeah.
bakeries usually.
yeah, it's where the bread place usually is.
For Christmas market.
Yeah.
I think our intention from the beginning was flexibility.
Mhm.
And so I think we'll have more flexibility with 2 entrances than 1. I think 1 entrance would limit us to 1 vendor.
Mhm.
And like you said, tripping over other people's stuff if we put 2 in there. So I think 2 is the way to go.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that, I just want to make sure, and we'll go ahead and plan on that. If you wanted the far right and one at the far left, and then the continuous crossing. So that's good. There will be water, and I plan to put hot and cold, basically hose bibs in that. Although the sink will be inside. I don't really want to put a sink outside or anything like that. The sink will be inside with, the plan is to put an electric water heater in there, and, we'll be plumbed up for that. So, but that's a little further down the road.
Will those, spigots, be secured so RVs can start like filling their tank?
Oh, yeah, we turn off inside. Yeah, there'll be a valve on the inside anyway.
Great.
Yeah, everything will be, and we're planning to put a RV or a 50 amp receptacle on the back parking lot side anyway, so if you bring a food truck in or something, so that's in the works. I think that's all I had. If anybody has any questions?
I do. So the little like hairpin fence,
Yeah,
what are the plans for that? Is it going to be recycled or sold or given away? Or?
it's the plan, the original plan was to put that along 5th Street, up along the street there.
Oh, gotcha.
There.
Okay.
I think, once we get, I'll be doing this over the next week or so. Once we lay out the boundary of where the planter goes around the Christmas tree, we may want to put a section along the sidewalk from the rock wall to where that arc comes in on both the Rose Street side and the 6th Street side. So we may want to think about putting a small section of fence in there to keep people out. We could even look at it if we wanted to put that low fence to make a border where the Christmas tree is. That's a thought. I mean, that's something we pulled that fence this week, and it's up at the Centennial Mill.
Good.
If you guys are looking at that fence, this is a totally separate project, but just so you guys are aware, the school's been working on basically trying to, we're gonna build some stairs that come from the inside of that basketball court, so the kids who are exiting at the end of the day don't filter into the street. And so they're gonna come down, and then there's gonna be a crosswalk on 5th, but that's the second phase of the project. It'll probably be in the spring. We're hoping to get the stairs done this fall. So just so you guys are kind of picturing that mentally, if you can not block, so the kids can continue, like if there's a continuation there. I don't think you'll mess with the sidewalk at all, but I just thought it would be worth mentioning that we're gonna have some stairs that are gonna be coming out on the other side of 5th, because you're talking about the north side of 5th, right, for the fence?
Yeah, I'm not sure where you're talking about now. The intent would be along 5th Street.
Like on the parking lot side, right?
Yeah,
But and so where that, I don't think it would impede like the sidewalk or the kids to go down, but if you want me to show you like where the stairs are gonna go, I can.
are they going into coming down into the parking lot?
No, they're gonna be on the south side of the street. But they're gonna be in the
Okay.
basketball court side, just so you know that that's happening.
Okay, so it'll be coming
We don't
down
want
the street
anything-
on the far side.
We don't want anything blocking the kids staying on the sidewalk, is the point, because right now they kind of all like,
Well, yeah, I mean, the sidewalk will continue.
exactly.
Yeah, it sort of continues to the corner, except you can't get through because there's the pole,
Because
the
the pole.
utilities and the other boxes.
So that's what we're trying to, we've been working on it for a couple of years, trying to find a way for the kids, because everyone who watches it is amazed we haven't had a kid get hit yet, because they just kind of weed into the streets. Yeah, so there's gonna be hopefully a crosswalk there eventually, and Rick knows all about that.
I have one other question.
Yeah.
If the
no,
plantings should go in this fall, do you have a maintenance plan for those during the winter? Are they gonna be watered or?
Well, we are putting irrigation in, automatic irrigation system in. It won't be active in the winter time because it freezes.
Yeah.
It's a good question. I don't know I mean, generally speaking, we're talking shrubs that would go in this fall, and probably mums or something like that, something that's a fall flower. I think mums are about the only thing up here that will grow in the fall.
For about a half an hour.
Till the chipmunks get them.
Yeah, until the first trees.
Yeah, it just could get very, dry during the winter. And
Yeah.
so I just,
But I mean, I think that would be Parks and Rec would come around with their truck, and
okay,
I know I mentioned that the tree looks like it's awfully dry, and I know I had Ryder go ahead and soak it when we had the hose out, when we were doing the compaction.
yeah,
And I think Kevin has now kind of put the tree on his root to get water, because it was really getting dry.
all right, good. I'm happy to hear that you're gonna reuse the fence.
Oh, yeah, the plan has always been to reuse the fence, so.
Okay, all right.
I got one quick question, I'm sorry, if it's been addressed, just say so, I'll catch up with all. Have you gotten, is any of the CDOT money gonna get used, the RMS money gonna get used to purchase the flagstone?
Yes,
Has CDOT said it's okay to go ahead and order the flagstone? Either before you have great approval or
our
before?
understanding is we can place the order, we don't have to worry about it until the invoice comes in. That's what I got from Cindy. Is that, and that's why we went with getting it on order, and not having to pay anything for it until, we're ready to use it.
But the funds are obligated, right?
Yeah,
What's your concern?
I've never seen a CDOT grant that you could actually obligate money from before you had a contract, much less before you actually had an award. So, but if Cindy says she's the master of all things CDOT, but I've never seen a state administered grant period from any agency work that way. But,
well, I mean, we have,
Cindy's the guru when it comes to CDOT grants, so I'll defer to
yeah,
her.
because I believe I know she talked to them about, all of this stuff, including the ADA concerns and stuff like that. If something happens, we have more than enough in matching funds. We have like 50 some odd thousand allocated for that, plus contingency, so.
Yeah, but you can't, your matching funds are part of the grant.
Yeah, but they only need to be 10%. We're way over what they need to be.
Okay, thank you.
We only bought the flags, we only bought the stuff that we needed, immediately. There's another 10,000 or so that we would need to do the sidewalk on Fifth Street, which we won't buy until we get it approved from CDOT. So
Thank you.
otherwise, we're looking at, we're as far as we can go pretty much right now for this year. We have to wait because we won't have the flagstone before the fall comes in.
Any other questions for Mr. Hamilton? Thanks again for coming. Thanks for keeping us informed.
I'll show you where that is, just to make sure that there's no conflict. I don't think there is.
Yeah, we're not doing anything on that side anyway.
Okay.
And that fence probably won't go in until next year.
Okay, we'll talk about it. I just thought I should throw it out there, let it be known, so there's no issues.
Good,
Okay, thank you, sir.
thank you.
On to marketing and events coordinator, Ms. Jess Edwards, please.
Hello and howdy. I just want to start by apologizing. I did put together our budget. I just was struggling with this dinosaur to print. It's actually not even connected. So I can send all this out later, but I started to go through and compile things that have already been in play, things that we might need to replace, like all of our banners. And just kind of get an overall sense of what our budget needs to be, where it's at, and what I have in store. One thing that I think the business promotion may or may not enjoy, but our education fund, I did start exploring some of our opportunities. I did apply and I will be interviewing next Monday for the Colorado Leadership Journey, the Colorado Tourism Leadership Journey. It's a one-year program where at the end you do present with the governor at his tourism conference. It's a really great opportunity. So if you guys have any qualms, any questions, anything you want to put up for Georgetown, please let me know. Like I said, that is next Monday. And if there's any other opportunities you're interested in the town for me to explore, please always bring those to me as well. Other things in there will be new events. a new event that I would like to play is Labor Day. We haven't really done anything in the past. Dog Days of Summer is just too close. We weren't able to do anything, but I would like to capitalize on Labor Day. I wasn't sure how business promotions would feel, what kind of push we'd want to do, but I've already been starting to collect vendors. I'm having more success collecting vendors from the mountains, like going to Dillon Market, passing out my card, getting their information. More people in the mountains are willing to come here than people from Denver. So I'm just trying to get a variety. And then another thing that I've been hearing is with our advertising opportunities, I've been exploring radio. I've heard radio has not always been in favor or hasn't worked with us. So I wanted to hear everyone's thoughts on that, especially looking at the dollar amount of things.
I can comment on the radio because I was here when we were buying ads at Heber too. So it was with KGO. And I'm not sure that has the reach that it did a decade ago, simply because of competition with things like, Spotify and Pandora and all of that sort of thing. So when you say radio, could you tell me what that was like?
Absolutely. So I was working with Frisco. They have 3 radio stations.
Okay.
Crystal's one of them. They're known for their I-70 updates. They said that would be a really great opportunity along with some weekend updates. I would be the spokesperson once I was speaking with Michelle as the representative. With my accent and personality, it might be a good catch, but a lot of people in the Frisco area are willing to drive to us. So I think getting that reach from Denver and to Vail can help promote the Bighorn Sheep Festival. If we want to do something for Labor Day, just a general call to action, those are things that we can look into.
Yeah, we did advertise with Crystal too. So.
Yeah.
Did they bring that up?
They have,
Okay.
but I did hear about the KGO. When I was speaking to people around town, there's opportunities to maybe be a co-host every once in a while. So
Yes.
there's not dollars behind that, but it doesn't seem like advertising there's not where we want to put money. So I have a few other
What about Pandora and Spotify?
those are a little bit more expensive. I think they could be worth it. I want to look into, and I have a meeting with them next week with Spotify. Pandora is hard to get a hold of. But with Spotify, just kind of seeing that general call to action and then also looking into podcasts, whether they're tourism, historic, things like that. Maybe we can capitalize on that. So we're not putting dollars behind it and being an advertiser, but we're still able to promote things that are going on in town, the historic museums, things that people can do.
We have a local podcaster,
I heard.
Anne Marie Cannon. And so I would suggest you speak with her, and she may even have some past episodes that might be good content for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, there was a city cast from Denver. They did a highlight not too long ago and Georgetown actually won the category overall. So I'm trying to get in with them to say, come here and visit and then really meet the people of our town and hear the history. Because I'm still fairly new, but there's so many voices here that could be reached.
Sure. What about NPR?
NPR, I haven't really looked into that one, but I could definitely.
Okay.
They have,
That's more of a Denver audience, so.
yes.
Although.
Well, CPR.
Yeah, CPR. Yeah. That would be wider.
Jess, I did forward your budget out to everyone who's here.
Thank you.
And then I'll let you send it to everybody else, because I think you're still doing some edits on it, just so you guys can look at what she's got right now.
I thought it was very thorough. What I liked was that you acknowledged what we have in place and that you're reaching further than that you're being creative. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot going on in town that we can fully capitalize on, whether it's our small yoga class that people may or may not know about, or whether we have new plays with people that I'm trying to work with, like Astro Tours. It's $600 for an event, but it's 3 telescopes, stories about the stars, it's more kid oriented. So we can do that by the lake, we can do it downtown at Strauss Park since we do have that dark sky ordinance. And he does have reoccurring events. He has a standstill place at Winter Park. He would be interested in doing that here as well.
There's a great video about our skies over Georgetown. Have you seen it?
I have.
Fabulous.
I'm a star person, so, I'm trying to make sure that there's a variety of things for all ages here.
Yeah, good.
Where would you anticipate, go back to Labor Day a second, because Labor Day will be here before we know it.
Yes, we have permits, they need to go in quickly.
Well, but where would you envision if you're inviting vendors in because of the current condition of Strauss Park, which is not an option?
I've spoken to Bob and he said it should be done, or it should be not done, but it should be usable by Labor Day weekend. If not, we could have alternatives. I know that not everyone loves a street closure, but we can always do a small street closure for vendors. With the amount of vendors I've been getting, I mean, it is a month, but we might be able to do something kind of nice, get a variety of in there. But if anything, we can focus more on events for like kids and dogs and things like that from what I have planned so far. I will say Parker will not be available there at the 2DC event, but I am working with Dustin on a lot more other things. So do see that partnership coming in more if you haven't already, Barbie.
My take on events in this time of year is that they're helpful. I mean, but the volume that we're seeing just in general right now in town, I don't necessarily think that we need events to draw people in. Events have more of like a lure where somebody comes and they're like, they happen to be an event. But I would personally, unless we can get something really cohesive together for Labor Day, rather see efforts put into like using some of the influencers and the bloggers that you found for a longer, like a basically better ROI.
Absolutely.
And because I think that as fun as events are, when people come and they're like, oh my God, we showed up at Georgetown and there was, a chili cook-off, or there was, a bounce house or whatever. I think that we would maybe get more bang for our buck with the timing and the planning if we were able to get some influencers and the bloggers that you listed here in their reach for more.
Absolutely.
More long-term.
I do agree. I think that is something that we should start to look to, but I want to keep in mind that everything comes back to the businesses. I've had discussions with people around town that we do promote our trails, and you go to our trails, they are overrun. People need to come here and have some place to eat. Okay, what do they do after that? They can walk around. We've got candy shops, we've got gift shops. I personally am trying to fill my office with things around Georgetown, so I know people can build their homes and stuff around Georgetown. But for me, I think I have a big 3 that I would like to for our content creators. The biggest reach would be 70,000, and that is a family of content creators, so I think getting that kid aspect. Another one is dog oriented, and then another one would just be more of a outdoor tourism kind of show for all. But with this influencer, he has a tie to Georgetown. Him and his family used to come out here and go camping, so he wants to over deliver, and that's something I like to hear. I have on here influencers who only have 16,000 and they ask me for ski passes. I met with some people from Loveland, and that's just not going to happen. Their reach isn't good. So we all know what our bang for our buck is gonna be. So don't feel like your voice isn't here. We're gonna put the dollar behind something that matters.
See, I think the average Joe, if they've been to Georgetown once, they're probably gonna be like, oh yeah, it's a cute little town, and then they may not necessarily come back unless we've got something going on. And I think we're missing an opportunity on a major holiday weekend to not have something at least for a short period of time on one of the days, not the whole blown out 3-day weekend, because we know we don't have that kind of activity, or, we couldn't sustain that and support that. But to have Labor Day and not have anything is like, what's wrong with us? It's like 4th of July if we didn't have some kind of, so even, again, small scale to start with as we feel it out. Maybe dog days is never gonna happen again, and that may be, sometimes it's trial and error kind of thing, but,
I think the issue with dog days was just, it got too close with the rec center not being able to give us their components that existed last year, and then I think it's like, well, those 2 things are out, so.
But I like the dog aspect, you're hitting the nail on the head with the trails are already being overused, but we do want to monetize that, and we're not just discouraging people from coming to it, but once they're here, let's, get them into all the businesses kind of thing. But we gotta do something on, these little blip weekends.
I agree. I don't think they have to be big blowouts. The enhancements to what we already have going on, I think are very important. I know they matter to me and my family. When we go out and about, we're like, oh, hey, well, it's not just the shops up and down, which we all go to, but we also have this other opportunity, and it could be it could be face painting, probably. I mean, it does not have to be elaborate, right? It's something that it hopefully traps and holds our existing visitors. I'm not even talking about trying to attract new ones. Traps and holds them a little bit longer, maybe entices them to do something they didn't otherwise have planned. And on the trails thing, we're not encouraging people who weren't otherwise going to go out on the trail to do that. We are making us their option, right? So that is not a battle I think we want to try and fight, is how to deal with overcrowding in Colorado's backcountry. I think we got it, and we got to own it, and we got to promote it and stick with it as an essential part of our platform, if you will, between, heritage and recreational tourism. So just don't let anybody dissuade you unless we collectively dissuade you from that approach.
No, absolutely. I think the mountains is what gets people here, but I want to show more why you should stick around. And the other part of that too is to go into education with the mountains. It's not just, oh, look at something pretty. I have a campaign going to match the 9 principles of leave no trace. I can go around Georgetown Lake right now and I'll tell you there's at least 3 Modelo cans that I ate because of that. But it is bothersome to walk around and see that much garbage. So if you are gonna come here, let's make sure that you know where to go, how to use it, and just take care of Georgetown the way we take care of Georgetown. Another really cool thing that I just skipped and it popped in my mind, but with influencers, we had Amanda Weidner stop by, I want to say last weekend or so. She did a cute little series on her stories. She was on Westward's cover last year and then she took off. She's got 90,000 followers. She did a end of the month post that had Georgetown and her towns to visit. Since that post, we have at least 22 new followers. So that's not something we put dollars behind, but since we've started interacting and commenting and being more with our influencers, I think we're starting to see the return. So putting dollars behind the right one will put us in the right direction, whether it's cleaning up our trails, enjoy Mount Bierstadt, or coming to town and saying, if you like to drink, we got places. If you like to eat, we got places. If you like knickknacks, I've got the knickknacks for you.
What's our next event that's coming up?
Our next event, I believe, would be like Bighorn Sheep if we don't do it today.
Okay.
I mean, I'm definitely in the minority on the Labor Day thing, so I think if you wanna tackle Labor Day, then you should tackle Labor Day, and then John Denver, we talked a lot about how to enhance John Denver. It's kind of one of those that, like, again, people just show up and it's happening. And I think that Kevin, because that was an event that he really kind of cultivated, would be your best contact on that.
And then what is the perception of helping, if not taking over the chili cook-off? That does happen during job.
Yeah, talk to Jamie.
If anyone can give me that contact,
Sure.
I'll definitely.
Okay. Yeah.
Who's promoted by typically?
Jamie Lacrosse,
Just by yourself?
She kind of pulled that, started that,
Yeah.
whatever, and
Okay.
the town has assisted, supported in some small ways, but could it be bigger and better because we've got somebody full-time
It
to
was bigger and
push
better
that?
over a decade ago. It was an actual
Yeah.
competition. Do you remember the teams
Yeah.
coming in?
Is it August?
And,
it was October.
October, it was always, you think of everything.
HDI used to sponsor it, and then it became complicated and it went away, and then it came back differently with Jamie.
Jamie did a really good job with it.
It's
She
popular.
was very passionate about it, and it was very like homey, and it was really thoughtful. It is a lot for her, and last year it was complicated by the street closure. She had a really hard time trying to figure out, because again, all things tie back to Strauss Park. And
think ahead, because if we're talking flagstone coming in around that time and construction, Strauss Park is,
Labor Day, September, Labor Day's in a month.
Yep, street closures, liquor license need to be in by 2 days, which gives me a time crunch, but I can tackle it. I've been planning before we got here, but, I just wanna make sure that is something, so hearing your concern, but also knowing a little bit, even if it's just a few vendors and, something that brings people here. My goal is to have bigger events that bring the people, but I also wanna have small events that keep people in town and just in the surrounding areas, stay on the radar. A little bit of a balance.
I think when Strauss Park is done next year, it's gonna, because it is tough right now. But I think if you can do something awesome for Labor Day, like everybody else said, I will support it. I'm not against it. But I do want to support those long-term things too.
Just real quickly, Mary Ellen Strauss Park, is it not possible for the selectmen to figure out what it's gonna cost and throw enough money to put a pin in that
Just
state?
get it done.
I mean, it's a problem.
Tell me about it.
It's a problem.
We had a big event this past weekend, and we had plans to use just a small portion of Strauss Park, and it looked horrible. It was for shit, and so
I mean,
I totally hear and understand and agree with what you're saying.
I mean, I see us throwing a lot of money in a lot of places right now, and some of it obviously is earmarked and obligated based on its revenue source, but I mean, I, for one, with Strauss Park, never anticipated that was a 3+ year project.
I total agreement with you. I will
Okay,
carry the conversation on.
okay.
And we can get creative with some of our events.
This morning with the TV.
Well, it's,
Yeah.
it goes to a big
I
issue, so
know.
it goes beyond events, just to general
Fair. One,
upkeep and aesthetic that, we've managed to not have now for some time.
and one more thing, with the new business opening this weekend, I can be around to help promote anyway. If there's ever anything like that, please tag me and I have no problem popping in, spending the day, hanging out with Parker.
I think that would be a great, use of your time, not the entire day necessarily, but that we're focusing on that. That's why, we're trying to
Yeah.
promote that and get that out.
Would
So-
it be, because this is the first new business since I've started, so I want it to be equitable. Would it be inappropriate to do like a Facebook event for them and then like a social post? And then I come on the day of and do like a little story and then we can do something, but nothing too blitzy and big, but just so people can know.
I would say absolutely. We're marketing
Okay.
everybody, and if someone else says, because of that, well, gee, I didn't get that
They can
attention,
contact us.
then you can meet with them the following week and say, hey, don't forget we got this and this and this.
It is a legitimate excuse to put ourselves out there in social media.
Yeah.
And you can tie it to the things, reasons to post are not obvious, right? And that's a good reason. I mean, you don't want to post for just, oh, hey, we have a TPC. I mean, you want to post for legitimate reasons, and that's a legitimate reason that promotes not just that business, but the whole.
Right.
So,
Yes, it fulfills our mission, what you just described, so I say go for it. The other thing is, in the past, that has happened what Mary's alluding to. When I was handling social media, I would promote something like this and then somebody would say, hey, what about me? I guess that's, if we look at it in a positive way, that's good, they're coming to us. And so that was our attitude, was if you have something to share with us, let us know. And so, because we have the platform, we have the audience to share that. Now, whether people will do that or not is another thing, but, if somebody comes forward and said, hey, I want my due, good. Yeah.
yeah.
And that's part of our funding is coming from all the merchants that are contributing to, through licensing and stuff. And so that's, that may be a small piece when it comes to, everything else that we're asking you to do, which is more than you'll ever have time to do. But absolutely, it's like, how can I help you market your place?
Yeah.
How can I push it on, social media or with bloggers or whatever?
Yeah.
Because that also plays into what I kind of view a core meaning is, that is creating an experience for people, right? And first of all, in part attracting that experience, but again, I had this conversation with Tom Hill 12 years ago. We got the people. We need to monetize them. And so monetizing them involves creating an experience for them that is memorable and something that makes them willing to, part with their money. And so I think new business opening, that's exciting. Yeah, there's new business opening in Georgetown. Oh, you can go check that out. Yeah. People who love and know us will make a point of coming up and then they'll tell.
It's, I believe in the halo effect, so, so if they come for a new business, I have every belief that they're going to spend money beyond that business because they're here. It's that halo effect, so let's promote it.
And could we, for all these events, could we please get some banners up? Because we go into Frisco and everywhere else, they got banners of all their events, and we come into our town, there's nothing.
I sent you guys, I just sent to you too, Gary, Jess's budget has new banners.
We have no banners right now.
Not even donate to have banners made.
Yeah, it's not like full banners.
She's got, yeah, not the one.
We had to order one for 4th of July, so that's why I kind of have the budget, and I'm hoping if we can plan them all out, get them designed, if we do a big bundle, maybe she'll do a discount. So I have at least, I wanna say 7, but if not a few more, like newer events. I would love to have more banners, I think that's a great call.
And
Even a general call to action would be nice too.
Yeah,
For
I get a lot of complaints from all the merchants saying, we don't know what's going on, we don't get flyers, there's no banners advertising the events, and
The flyers are.
they're not happy, so.
I think that, like for merchants to say they didn't know about something like the Slacker is to me kind of, that's a little silly. Like, the Slacker's been going on, and that was not our event, that was a Justice deal, but like, I had somebody say, I didn't even know the Slacker was happening, I'm like, you've been here longer than me, and I knew the Slacker was happening. Because it happens the same weekend every year, for like, how many years, like 20? Yeah, so I definitely hear, like, if it was dog days, I'm 100%, like, something that's a one-off, or she did just does something for Labor Day, 100%, like, we gotta make sure that all the merchants know that. But for merchants to be like, legitimately, someone complained to me that they didn't know about the Slacker, and I was like, what?
A lot of them don't read your emails. either.
Well, and then, so
Well,
I hear you, and I definitely think that we will always continue to have opportunity for communication, but I also put some onus back on people to go, is it the 4th weekend in June? Then it's probably the Slacker.
Well, and there's a challenge for Jess too, in that, when she goes out, let everybody know, not everybody's open, and so you can't really drop off a flyer someplace and somebody get it. So I think we have to try the old fashioned route, just to satisfy some of our.
We have to recognize that a lot of our merchants are that old fashioned route, and we can send out as many emails and social media but they.
Yeah.
And then you don't catch the right one on the right day.
And that's why Jessica's diligent logs,
Yeah.
every place she's gone to.
We were.
I can update it, it's today. Oh, okay, like, it is today.
I know, I was like, right, remember? This is why Mary and I are like, the logs,
The
you have to
logs.
keep the logs.
Yeah, there's a lot of merchants that are closed.
Yeah.
So,
And closed on days that they're not indicated, or closed on hours they're not indicated, so I'm trying to get a spreadsheet, but even after I visited some and they gave me their dates, they're still sporadic, so we're working on that. The bigger one for me is focusing on the restaurants when they're open or closed, bless you. That way, when I'm overhearing people asking where they wanna eat, oh, it's Thursday, I know Alpine's closed, but Cooper's is open, oh, you guys are having a late day.
Alpine's open Thursday, just for the record.
Tuesday, it's a tease.
I never know when the restaurants are open. They're all inconsistent.
7-3, and I believe 5-11.
A lot of them are
No,
closed on
5-11's
Wednesday.
got it.
Funky.
Tuesday,
Wednesday, they're.
That's,
Anyway.
we're figuring out my spreadsheets, they get updated every day.
A thought, and then not to deter the signage for the events, because I totally agree. We don't even, come into town accidentally and you have no idea that there could be a major event going on in town. Then I know this goes into the next thing with the wayfinding signs. But if there's a way that in the back of our minds, we can keep in mind the size parameters or whatever, the potential for the sign at the roundabout or at the visitor center, so that we don't purchase a bunch of, vinyl to reuse, and then all of a sudden it's the wrong,
Dimension.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I know I live here now for a while. The sign at the waypoint is at the roundabout, does Paul occasionally put like a banner at the bottom of it with bench?
Yeah, we had talked about that last time, and so that's one of our focus points.
Will they allow us to?
The visitor center? Oh, yeah.
So make sure you're sizing some of those, I'll let Paul tell you precisely what the dimensions should be. No, we Paul.
It's part of his mission, so absolutely. And my recollection is that he had pipes put in the ground at the right distance, and then, poles that go in, and so it was very easy to erect them, and it was consistent. But I think it goes back to people aren't making banners.
They're what?
They aren't making the banners to use the poles that he installed.
We mean people are just
People
like
who
us.
have that's us, from HGI,
Gotcha.
for wine tours or whatever. Yeah, I just don't think, so I think Paul has that infrastructure there. Visit with Paul, he'll be back, this weekend. Maybe go over there and just see where that is, but I think it's behind the long, low sign, not the tall one, but the long, low one. That says something about the historic landmark district. I think it's right behind that.
Yeah, I mean, because
Where
there's, if you think about the number of people that cruise through downtown on a Saturday,
If we touch
there's
their eyes,
probably,
they come in,
there's
yeah.
probably 9 to 10 times that number of people that are at that roundabout.
And we know it's a total pain and we use it enough, but, to hang a long banner on the historic George side, that,
Paying for it.
I believe that conversation would move to have it hung on the firehouse. That's the dimensions and the cost that I have right now. I can update the estimated budget. But
Firehouse.
that's how it was for the 4th of July. I have pictures and videos if anyone needs any.
so anyway,
Well, we all
just a
saw it.
thought about the visitor center sign, just to make sure that the dimensions are right, so that what we buy this year, we can use again next year. I know Paul is very willing to hang banners on the fence in the parking lot, but that only
Yeah.
grabs those eyes, and we have so many people who know that they're heading in and heading up Winona Pass and coming down here, and so they don't see it.
Nice segue, Barry.
And the, one other thing about, banners, there is, that one banner that says historic downtown ahead.
It goes both ways.
Yeah, can we just remove that? That goes back like two
It's,
administrators ago. And it
It's a light pole banner, it says historic
It
downtown,
just
and
needs-
but it's double sided.
Yeah, it needs to just be discarded.
It's been like that for forever.
The other, there were two, one blew away and I was happy about that. Usually I'm not happy when a banner goes away.
Every
Oh, I
year.
know. I found one of our banners on the street the other day, and my dog tried to eat it, and I stuffed it next to the whistle stop, and then I told Stuart, so I hope it got picked up.
I picked it up.
Did you?
Oh, yeah, it's in my truck.
Okay, I told him where, yeah.
Thank you for reminding me.
Okay. Anything else for Jess? Jess, anything else for us?
That is it for now.
Oh,
Keep up the good
listen,
work.
Great job on the social media.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's.
The quality of the content, the reels and stuff, they are eye-catching and they are on point and they're well timed.
The homes were well
They're, like, they hit my feed exactly when they should hit it, right about the time I'm coming through in the morning or coming through in the evening, they're great.
Yeah, good work.
Good job.
Wayfinding signage, that's me. I've made little to no progress this last month. I'll tell you, July has been a killer for me, pace-wise, personally and professionally. And so note to self, hire an assistant, during the month of July, if nothing else, next year.
Okay.
But I have been in contact with, House of Signs, and, they know what the holdup is. They know that I just haven't been able to carve out time to pay attention to what our notes were last meeting. So that's on me. I will move this, forward the next month because the pressure is starting to drift away.
We're about 2 weeks out from reading the report today.
So,
Just for a minute.
For 2 weeks.
For 2 minutes.
okay. Let's go on to budget 2024. Money, money, money.
So you know what I look at? I'm just looking at this year, right?
I had a Mary Smith and I had a conversation with Mary Sims the other day. Do you want, and Jess, do you want any?
Yeah, let's,
Because we were doing our jam meeting.
let's hear what you got.
Mary Smith, Mary Sims, Jess and I met more pertaining to Jess's wish list, which led us into a larger conversation about the budget. And my opinion is that we need to do a separate work session on it because it is a little more complicated than it has been in years past, with the issues with the lodging tax. Currently, well, as of last Wednesday, was that when we met? No, Thursday, we met Thursday. Thursday morning, yes. So we met Thursday, because again, and that meeting was not pertaining to the BPC budget, so I want to be very clear, it just sort of became a larger conversation about that. It was for Jess to kind of get her ducks in a row, but we're down pretty significantly on the lodging tax collection. As of Thursday, we had only collected 17% of what, and we were expected to be about 56% at this time of year. The issue that exists within the tax collection is that VRBO and Airbnb are not remitting the funds to us. And it's a big convoluted mess. It's Expedia, it's third party.
It's all the platform.
It's all the third parties, I think, but Airbnb and VRBO are the most egregious in how this is playing out.
I'd like to ask Rick a question. Is there any way, in order to resolve this, to suspend VRBO or short-term rental licenses until these vendors fess up?
Well,
Just put them out of business. Put them out of business
I know.
for a month or 2 months. If they're not listening, you gotta get their attention. Can you suspend their licenses?
I will talk to Jerry legally what we
Okay.
can do, but that's being contemplated.
Yeah.
That if they continue down this path and not remit the tax, they're basically saying, prove to us that you can legally do this according to state statute. And I'm like, the state's already acknowledged this from the Department of Revenue, the counties acknowledge this, we don't have to do anything to you. However, if they continue down this route, we could ban all VRBO and Airbnb.
I think that's probably the next step. I hate being ignored if you have a.
Well, so-
As a guy who owns a restaurant and enjoys visitors coming there to buy beer and food, I think that's a terrible.
So wait, we do have
Just
some,
saying.
They're not remitting.
we do have some short-term rentals that are remitting, okay? They may
Don't
be the-
suspend them.
They may be the minority, and we do have a plan for a work session with the Board of Selectmen to open up and revisit our short-term rental ordinance. And these are some of the issues as we've begun to tackle this year with the lodging tax. And part of our conversations with our budget meeting that we had, or I'll say numbers, not even budget, last week with Mary Sims was, we are working towards that information and connecting into our legal. So it's not, I hear and understand and agree to some degree about, suspending the business license, but it's a work in progress. And we're learning a lot from it, but it's gonna take some time. I would love things to happen overnight, okay? I think there's so many things that don't, but are we gonna cut off our nose to spite our face when we're seeing a hell of a lot of money of potential income coming in from this? So it's
The
a
other
process,
sense,
but
too, if I can just jump on that, is that it is equally as frustrating for some of these vendors because they are managing, Airbnb or their property management or whoever it's being collected. And so for an individualized vendor, they're like, they got the money. And so it's not to be punitive to the people who are just the proprietors of these Airbnbs when the money is being collected, and it's honestly the bigger issue at like a corporate level is to me not fair to punish.
So we do know that the property owners are ultimately responsible, and they know this too, so we're working on it.
Is there a platform that's actually remitting? Or any of the platforms remitting?
Then she said, didn't she say it was Expedia or Booking?
Well,
One of those?
Expedia, they're
That's
all
happening.
connected through
Yeah.
VRBO.
There's one that she said is fine, and I can't remember.
I can ask Mary that, I don't know.
How are we getting that money from the Airbnbs?
Well, they're supposed to remit to us directly. I mean,
Right,
it's like-
because I know some people got Airbnbs and they're filing with the state Department of Revenue, just like I do monthly.
But so, so there's a portion of your tax that goes to the state. So like your sales tax, everybody has to file that with DOR.
Right.
So if you're an individual proprietor of an Airbnb, or in this case, or if you have a Airbnb or whoever's managing for you, they're paying your sales tax revenue to DOR. Your lodging tax should not go to DOR. Your lodging tax has to come directly to us. That is the concept of being a home rule what municipality, thank you. I'm like, what's the word I'm looking for? Because a home rule means that we self-collect.
Right.
So because the DOR will not remit anything back to us. I use this as an example, and I know you know this story. I just had an issue with my payroll company, and my payroll company didn't pay my state withholding for 6 months. They didn't pay it. They took it from me. They didn't give it to the state. And the state was kind enough first go around to waive my penalties because I've never been late. The second time around, they're like, too bad, so sad. So I just had to pay all my penalties out of pocket. And it's not my fault. It's my payroll company's fault. I'm leaving this payroll company I went to because they didn't pay my withholding. They took it. And so I do respect the fact that when you're giving this money to somebody, you want it to go to where it belongs, but I also take responsibility for the fact that I can't. It's my fight to have with this particular company.
Another question, now I don't know the answer to it, is if not a suspension of their business license, can the town put a lien on properties and then in the future, if this investor or property owner wants to sell, there's a lien and they have to pay you at that point?
I don't know, I suspect we're gonna get dissolved.
Okay.
I think the point that VRBOs, because they represent a bunch of other third parties, it's a Expedia and all these other hotels.com, they're all underneath them. But their issue is they don't understand our territorial charter that we have the right to do this. They are collecting, like you said, they're just not remitting the tax to us. And so Jerry Dahl is aware and he's giving us advice, but we may have to take it another notch. But we're trying to resolve it with them right now. So we've submitted our charter to them, we submitted the ordinance that was passed, and it's kind of like, what else do you need for us to prove to you that we have the right to do this?
I think they need to dig with the municipal court judge.
That's what Jared suggested too, it's like.
That'll get their attention.
I agree. Okay, cool.
So bottom line
Okay,
is,
so
not to
thanks for letting
digress,
us-
sorry,
No,
is that when we do this work session, we have to, see.
perfect. Treasurers.
We were explaining that we're not, our collection is not as robust, thanks to our partners in.
Yes, but I have not updated any of you.
So did we just have a big fight for nothing? Because if we did, I'm joking, it wasn't even that big of a fight.
So,
No, but she's coming in with good news, it sounds.
well, sort of, I thought it was great because I was on cloud nine a couple days ago. So I put in tickets, complaint tickets with customer service for the tax department of VRBO, Expedia, and Airbnb. Expedia, VRBO, same. Haven't heard back from Airbnb, but Expedia emailed me and she goes, well, you're a statutory town. And I go, no. And so we go back and forth and back and forth. And then she starts writing, what gives you the right to collect lodging tax? And I sent her our charter, blah, 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 and then I can't remember what email came, but I go, okay, this is Jerry. So Jerry was like telling me what to say, and she's still complaining and going, my apologies, I don't think you understand what proof I need. And so.
My apologies, because you're stupid.
So, my email this morning, I have not heard back from her, but She claims that they're paying the state. I said, you can't pay the state. I said, I've talked to Department of Revenue. They said, there's no way unless you're fudging numbers that you can pay them. And she says, no, we're paying the state. And I go, no, and that's not how it's done. So I'm in a kind of a pissing match with her,
Good,
but
we got your back.
Well, the thing is, though, is the state would be obligated to refund them.
well, I
Because it
talked
would be
to
overpayment.
Luann at Department of Revenue, and I go, Maria at the county said that if for some reason you're being overpaid, you just put it in a pool until someone calls to claim it. And she goes, no. She goes, they could not be paying us because it won't let them on the forms, because there's no Georgetown. Makes sense. And she goes, so if they're fudging the numbers, yeah, maybe, but they'd have to be, you know, they're not gonna do that. So, I don't know where it stands there. We're making some headway, I think. At least I got a person in the right department that didn't hang up on me.
Yeah.
We're not giving up the fight.
Oh, no.
So,
But, yeah, so for this budget work session, we have to, we're just talking about, yeah.
Well, there's another question Greg had. Are there third-party vendors that are remitting?
Agoda, I think, is
That's
the
the-
only one.
Well, there's your solution.
Everybody
No,
else
we
uses
direct
it.
our vendors, to be
Yeah.
like, guys, sorry, you are not using a vendor that's compliant, and we'll give you 3 months or 4 months or whatever to get switched over.
And we talked about that.
But I close the business, whatever, maybe
Yeah,
December
something about
31st, we're close enough now. You guys all need to be with this platform, or demonstrate to us that you have another platform that is in fact remitting and will.
Okay, I do know that one or two, they've figured out a way with VRBO to get them, they set up a custom tax separate, and VRBO collects it, but then when they do their remittance to the vendor, they include that 2%, and then the vendor files the taxes on
Let's
it.
do that. Well, Amazon.
But when you talk to customer service at VRBO, they said, no, you can't do that. Well, she's doing it. And this woman is smart and she's on top of things. So I don't, I'm not questioning,
Can we?
but they're also having difficulty getting the county tax off of it. That these places, these platforms are still collecting county tax.
Wow.
And I've sent documentation, I've sent the link to show that it's no more as of July 1st from the state to the vendors to pass on, because it's easier for them to communicate with them. I don't know, we've got a lot of money out there. We're either gonna get a windfall sometime, hopefully sooner rather than later, or,
Are we getting any documentation from the vendors as to what they're charging, what their customers get charged? Because that spread, 40 points. That tells me there's something in addition going on there. Because, that's more than, that's a 60% difference. in
so
what we should have collected.
here's
And that
my
tells me
other
that
thing.
maybe we overestimated what we should be generating on that.
Well, we probably did a little, not a whole lot, probably maybe 25,000
Because when we did those
over the
numbers,
course of the year. But we're doing it, the way we estimated it, and Lynette came up with the same numbers I did, was based on what information she was getting from George at the county.
and we used the sales,
Commissioner?
no,
Yeah.
but Mary, and I watched her run the numbers, we vetted them, use the sales tax to get it. So, I mean, we took the sales tax collection for lodging in 2022 or 21,
21, yes.
21, and multiplied that by the 2%. Like we figured, we took that number, made that the gross sales, or the net, I forget how we did it, gross.
You gross it up for the gross
Yeah,
sales.
and then we
take your
multiply that
2%.
by 2%.
Well, am I wrong? I mean, it seems fairly straightforward, so there's gotta be a fatal flaw in it. Why wouldn't we direct our vendors to utilize a platform that is actually remitting data? As opposed to beating our proverbial heads against the wall.
You can do that, but I think a lot of them are gonna balk because Airbnb, it's simple for them.
That's fine, that's no problem, they have a phone all day long, as soon as they write us a check.
Yeah, they won't.
Here's another issue
I don't think
that
anyone
has,
anticipated that Airbnb wasn't gonna pay their taxes even.
No, I agree. I agree.
That's,
but where is this,
The past
you're
is-
collecting it, where is it going? That's what is just boggling my brain.
I think we're gonna get it. The question is how long it's gonna take, but I think, we can let the past be the past and say, moving forward, you know, unless you can demonstrate otherwise, these are, put in the ordinance.
I don't think we
These are
should
the
give
acceptable
business licenses next year to our short-term rentals unless they have paid all their
I
taxes.
don't wanna go there either, I'm telling you,
Here's,
because it's not, because it's not like you're not collecting any sales tax from those people. They're paying sales tax through a managed business, they're paying sales tax through my business, they're paying sales tax through yours.
But through our licensing and through our ordinance, we can then say, these are the platforms that you are allowed to use.
Correct.
So, you know, and if we put some pressure on them though, then we're gonna start, you know, the individual short-term rental owner, whoever it is, company or a personal owner, is going to get on the horn with Expedia or whoever it is that isn't paying. Or make sure that they're paying it out of pocket first, and then they're gonna get their refund from that platform. So, no, I agree that we should, these are the acceptable platforms, that, you know,
So that's a condition of your license, is that?
exactly, that's kind of the point I'm trying to make, is that, I mean, I wouldn't be able to renew my liquor license in November if I didn't pay this penalty I got on my withholding. The state's gonna say, you have an outstanding tax debt on your account, or you don't get to renew your liquor license, period. And I'd be like, well, I don't have a choice. So I don't think it's completely egregious to put a little pressure on the vendor to say, you don't get a renewal if you don't get this straight. I do hear that, yes, we don't want to bite our nose or cut off our nose to spite our face. We want to be cordial to the vendors, but I think there are vendors who are kind of complacent and just don't want to make it their problem. And I think those are the people that we really have to hold accountable.
Well, but we also have to hold their hands. We understand what the problem is. We understand what the potential solutions are. We have to, there's nothing wrong with us leading them in the direction that will work for everybody.
and Mary's doing that, you know, and she's been doing this since March or April when we discovered this.
Yeah.
But have
And it
we,
is a process.
but have we informed the vendors that there is a platform that's remitting properly and that we highly encourage you to switch platforms?
well, see, I don't know if they,
Just, I mean, yes or no? I mean, it's a yes or no.
indirectly, we've told them that Airbnb and VRBO is not remitting.
Well, okay, but we do know of one that is. so
Okay,
we
let's
can
go
recommend-
back to Agoda. I don't know if Agoda contracts with these big companies. Agoda's only paying on one of our vendors, and they do it every month, and they're great. But I don't know if they do it on behalf of Airbnb. I don't know.
I'm on a go right now, I want to see who's on there.
But I want to point out something else, and I don't want to get an uprising from the vendors, but
There's only 2 properties on Agoda, and it's Microtel and Georgetown Lodge. And I went.
and they're not paying on either of those.
I went into the future on that pretty fast.
So prior to the lodging tax, with sales tax, we used to tell short-term rentals, doesn't matter if you're going through Airbnb and they're paying your taxes, you have to file 0. with the state. So we know you have a sales tax number, so we know you're in good standing. I mean, that's in the ordinance, or in our short-term rental ordinance. But I'm wondering, because I think there's 6 that haven't done any business at all this year. And I'm wondering if they go, oh, I'm going through Airbnb, I just report 0. That could be another issue that we are having.
I lied, there's more than that.
So I need to maybe reach out to those. My idea, I was talking to you, is to get with Jen and compose a letter just saying, you know, if you don't rent in a whole year, then your license
Which is part of our existing ordinance. If you have a short-term rental and you don't have any rentals for the year, then, so that's already written in the ordinance. So,
but then it would get them to say, oh, no, that I did rent, then why did you file 0? That letter will solve a lot of questions on that.
Maybe they chose the long-term rent, I just kind of.
I feel like if someone doesn't have a rental permit, well, if they chose to long-term rent it, they still have, because they have an STR license, wouldn't they still have to pay sales tax?
No.
Oh,
that's right. No. And well, so that's so we can offer the opportunity for, and I don't know if all of the wards are still at capacity, but I know.
There's availabilities in Ward 2.
Okay, but so if someone had a short-term rental license and they weren't using it for that particular business, you know, then it frees up that license to somebody else there. So there was a reason behind, if you aren't renting for a whole year, then why are you occupying a license? Because your neighbor next door wants to make theirs a short-term rental, you know, type thing. So we were trying to keep that opportunity open and not have someone just lock down a license and basically lose a license. And then again, we're losing money on it because we're anticipating sales tax. Aside from the lodging tax, we're anticipating some kind of sales tax. So another avenue we can further explore.
Yes.
So
when you're done, can you?
Sure, I'd love to. I get all excited on this stuff.
There is more on Agoda than I realized, when I changed the date situation.
So I guess the town is aware of it. We know that this is an issue. We hope to bring it closer to resolution by the time the license renewal period comes up, and we expect these revenues to be in our pockets for it. Our big pocket, as of the town pocket, not individual.
We are being recorded.
I know.
So yeah, I mean, we can do, there's several things we can do to make sure that as an individual, that they are reporting correctly without going, okay, we're gonna audit your stays. So,
yeah,
I mean, that sounds like a nightmare because people are gonna be so angry. And then also, so everybody says, oh, I mean, other clerks and treasurers and stuff say, oh, well, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. We use this tax collection system. Well, to get that system, it would be between $5,000 and $10,000 a year. So right now, I think that's just not a good idea.
Also,
I don't know how much more they're going to track. I mean, I think we track, it would be simple.
I think you try harder than that management company would to find out that we're not getting payments. I'm not ready to go there yet.
Right.
Even though ultimately that 5,000 or 10,000 could be a drop in the bucket compared to the revenue that we're bringing in. I don't think we would have been aware of the situation if it weren't for you personally.
Well, I also feel that we're not even through the first year and then we're gonna switch all their reporting requirements. I think it's going to upset a lot of people. And I'm kind of tiptoeing around, but.
And we already started off with a nightmare with the county, so, you know, let's,
So
To bring it back full circle, we schedule a work session, Chairman.
Okay, let's, sooner is better than later, I think.
When do you expect our, when do we have to turn in our budget to you for
The
BBC?
9th of September.
Okay, so we need to do it before then.
Sounds like a good idea. Okay, I'm available, every morning next week. Can't believe I'm saying that. Every morning I'm available, so, actually, for the rest of the month, it's looking pretty good unless something pops up.
Next week is really bad for me, I
Okay,
apologize.
that's fine.
The kids don't have summer camp and school doesn't start till the following.
What about the
I
following
can
week?
babysit.
No, you need to be here.
Yeah, school starts the 16th, so I'm good after the 16th.
Good after the 16th, okay. Can we look at, the 21st, 22nd, or 23rd?
I'm good with any of those.
21st isn't good for me, but don't schedule around me. 22nd, 23rd.
Craig, you have valuable input, I'd like to.
Yeah, as many of us need to be here.
22nd and 23rd work.
Okay, looking good.
I'm usually available in the morning.
Okay. Okay, so how about preference, Tuesday or Wednesdays?
Wednesdays are great.
Wednesdays, okay, the 23rd, everyone?
Okay.
Okay, got it.
Time.
8 AM. Okay, so 8,
I'm going.
and Treasurer Sims, are you available?
I'll come down. The 23rd,
The 23rd at 8 AM?
I will check downstairs and if
I'll be
not,
great.
I mean, maybe not for the whole time, but
Okay,
23rd.
we'll need you.
Okay,
Okay.
and then I'll see you after.
Yeah, I'll come down. Thanks.
Okay, good work, people. Okay, any other discussion? Or should we just have it? I think we should just have it.
Let's have it done.
Okay, town administrator, Administrator Peruglian. Well,
That was this month. right?
Well, as you can tell around town, we're doing pavings and concrete pans. Thanks to Craig's help with that guidance on that.
thank you, Craig.
It's not that even extra.
So, the pans have been, almost finished, they still got a little bit left on Main to go. That will be done, they're telling me this week, so. The paving, we kind of had to stop this morning because the ground, it's so saturated with water, it's squishy spots all over, and we had to make a call and stop it. They were paving, so John Jennings actually came out there too, he was like, what's going on?
On Rose,
I walked this.
on Rose Street?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so they've switched gears, they're doing the bridges, they're surfacing the bridges today, they'll be done, and they're gonna fix this massive pothole that has been there for a long time. As long as I've been here, we've patched it, and it keeps coming back.
You haven't been here that long. It sounds good, but,
But it has been there.
but it has been there a long time.
There's still potholes, potholes down there by Clear Creek Drive-In Main too. There's still potholes down there, I think.
Yes, and they're not gonna be able to fix those this time, we don't have the budget for that. So we're doing the concrete pans on that area, and then next year we're gonna resurface. And so, based on the budget we have, then we'll continue to do more concrete pans and then resurface the rest of that. But Sunburst or whatever, I think that's right, that's where we're stopping with the pans. And then past that is really bad with potholes. And so we just don't have the budget, but it's on the list for next year, to get done. So that's what's going on right now. It is, there's been so many changes in that thing, and so we're trying to get that finalized. 8th Street has been finished. In order to resolve that drainage situation, we had to make a sidewalk with the drain area in it. And so that one turned out different than what was proposed and what we planned. But it does work, and the neighbors around it are very happy and pleased because it is working. We had another issue on 9th and Rose by your house. A water main broke, and that one was a very weird size. That was a 2.5-inch main line. Never heard of that before, but it broke and it impacted two homes. All the others were connected into different areas, but thankfully Ryan was able to fix that. temporarily fix that in order to make sure that the tour of homes was not gonna be affected. The real solution is we're looking at there's an expensive solution and then there's a more affordable solution. And I think we're leaning heavily on the more affordable solution in order to do that. Because if it was many people connected to that line, then we would do the expensive. But since there's only 2 people involved, we're gonna do the more affordable solution. Ryan's working on that right now.
So you're gonna re-excavate and?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll give plenty of notice. There's a couple of issues happening that way.
Happened on a Friday afternoon.
The guys, the crew went down and knocked on everyone's door. However, they did not leave a notice because most people did not know what was going on, even though we did, drastically try to inform people. But next time that won't happen, we'll make sure that a written notice will go to every person's home who's affected like that. So that was another crazy thing. Craig and I are working on the parking plan and what we can do for the parking lot that's on 22nd Street across from Cabin Creek. We'd like to beautify that area, but also multiply the spaces that we have. Because right now people park however they want. And sometimes they do a really good job, I've noticed, with double rows and everything, but that's not the norm. The norm is they just park however, and it significantly limits. And then that's the first one, we're gonna tackle that. We'll bring it back to you guys to get your comments. Hopefully we'll have, 3 options or something like that. And then we'll take it to the Parks Board and let them vet it too, because I think technically it's a park. It falls under their purview and.
And their budget too.
And their budget, and so, but we still want guidance from both. We're not trying to erase something and then have to come back and fix more stuff.
Isn't there still a private lot across the street there that's, no?
Not there.
I thought that was when the Bighorn development was being discussed, that there was a spot on the northeast corner that was.
No, there's a funny intersection of the I-70 right-of-way line and the corporate boundary for the town and the national park, or the division, or the Department of Reclamation's boundaries for the lake.
Oh, okay.
Which we're dealing with in the 22nd, or the Argentine Street design.
So your parking plan obviously will take into consideration what the Argentine North
The parking, yeah.
and the roundabout and.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna lay everything
Okay.
right over the reconfiguration of 22nd Street and Argentine Street.
Okay.
The parking situation's gotta be tough for you guys up there with.
We get a tremendous amount of recreational parking in that main parking.
It would irritate me
But
to know it.
we also take advantage of off-site parking too, so. It works out. It never results, it doesn't seem to have resulted in people unable to make their way to the freaking front door of that place the last several weeks, so.
That's good.
So we'll include a big area with a big sign that flashes. It says open for business.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
If you can't park here, go to Mary's driveway.
No, my previous partners just railed about it, and I was like, guys, it's not a battle you can win, it's not a battle worth fighting.
So, and then once we do that parking, then we'll start doing the other parking lots to the north of that. Because those two are also problems where people want to parallel park, but if we actually kind of give them some guidance to park diagonally, we can, quadruple the number of parking spaces in that area. And may have to widen a little bit, but probably not. If we can just give them a guide, even a couple, like Craig had mentioned, railroad ties diagonally, maybe 3 of them, it gives them a guide of how to do it. But those are other options we're looking at. The trail that we're creating along 22nd Street on the northern side of that, we're about 65–70% finished. They're putting boulders to make sure people don't park in those areas, which they have been, and we're still trying to even though we have signs up, pedestrian walk, but we're taking a rock wall, in a sense, we're building that up and then putting material, compressing it, and then putting the crusher fines on top of that. So it's about 5 feet. So it's a nice trail. I had heard people are still parallel parking between the boulders, so we put more boulders in there to kind of prevent that. But then the other issue that I've heard is people are setting up their fishing stations now on that path. And so that's something that we're still finagling of how we can help create the signage that's appropriate, but not so much, you know.
Smaller.
Please do more signs.
I know, so it's something we know it's becoming aware, we're becoming aware of the situation, but,
The pedestrian path is being used though, and, you
Yes.
know, just for
Yeah.
the traffic flow, the cars and stuff, that's,
That's looking really nice.
yeah, it really is. They're doing
yeah, I've
stuff.
noticed it too, people are not in the street as
Yeah,
much.
they're doing a
They
good
are
job.
using that path, and so that's really the goal, is public safety in that area. But it does look nice too, so I'm very proud of the guys of what's. So, I will relay your affirmation to the boys.
Yeah, no, they're doing a good job, yeah.
So what were you saying, Tiff?
Something that I've been wanting to do with my inexperience of being in Georgetown, I don't know a lot of things, so I don't know which way to park. I don't know where I'm supposed to go with my kayak to get onto the water. I think maybe doing like a social campaign of this is how you use our lake responsibly with a social post, and this is how you park. It can even just be a graphic that I create, and then we can, you know, go from there. But I think that would help people when they're trying to figure out how to travel here. This is how you park, you know, when they're coming downtown, they don't know where to park. When they're at the lake, they don't know how to park, but I mean, I don't even know how to park. So using y'all to help
I think that'd be
navigate
great.
that would be something I would like to bring to.
If it works for a half a dozen people, it's, you know, that many more that are not being cursed at.
That lake is an outreach opportunity now that we should be taking advantage of. I mean, one thing that struck, we were in Steamboat a couple weeks ago, and we flew into Yampa, and we got out of one spot just to take a break, and one of the people that was with me had a plastic water bottle, so they brought with them, you know, to drink some water out of it. And they had a volunteer there saying, hey, listen, you know, just so you know, we're here to educate people about the impact of, you know, plastics and blah, blah, blah. And what we found is, you know, if it goes on the river, then it tends to stay on the river. And he goes, can I take that from you and trade you for this, you know, this, it was some water bottle, right? Some reusable water bottle. Personally, hell yeah. But it was approached in a really super, it doesn't have to be water bottles at the lake.
Sounds like Cabot, a
It could
great
be,
business idea for Cabot Creek, and then they could come back with their water bottle, and maybe you could, you know, give them, you know,
I'll do that in my spare time.
there you go.
But just the presence down there, you know, I mean, it really is becoming, you know, you see people set up tents and they're there all day, bathing suits and, you know, the whole 9 yards. So those are for any organizations you want to reach out to about water quality, about, you know, all that kind of stuff is a whole nother opportunity for us to then, it looks like us doing it, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be us doing it. It could be the Continental White Trail Coalition. It could be any number of things. If we reach out to those groups that have an interest in it, they're all looking for volunteer hours. These people are really into it. Bring them up and have them participate.
Plus, we don't have the bad algae that makes the dogs sick.
Why talk about parasite from the lake? Well, it isn't,
Always want to have water flow.
the Denver Zoo, they're doing something over at Mount Evans with their recreational. I'm sure maybe we can try, maybe not something that big, but you know, there's opportunities around.
DOW has a volunteer arm to it. Forest Service has a volunteer arm to it.
You're gonna need an assistant pretty soon.
Your lips together.
All right, I've got a couple of-
Interns.
So, what is also that the guys are working on at the end of that trail, that's right in front of Neil Duncan's house, is we have that property, we're gonna make it more flat so people can turn around. Instead of turning around in other people's yards, we have the space and it'll just be a little turnaround area. And so it makes it easier, because if not, they're turning around people's private yards, or they're going all the way down Main Street and trying to find a way to turn around, and it just bottlenecks everything in that area.
Well, it's dangerous on that curve.
Yeah.
You know, with people.
So that's that.
Okay.
Get on those wetlands.
Yeah.
People will raise them worse.
Yeah, I have been asked to look into something, I'll bring it to your attention to see your thoughts on this. But, a homeowner has asked me, why don't we have an area where we can bring our kayaks?
He came and talked to us today.
Yeah, okay, good. What is your thoughts on that?
I like
That
it.
sounded
I
reasonable.
think it's a good idea.
Because I mean, we have bike locking stations, why not have a long thing where they can just lock up their kayak? As long as they realize that it's, you know, if it's stolen or damaged, it's not our fault.
Yeah.
We told them that it was more of a parks thing, but
Okay.
I think that's something that we should explore.
Okay,
Because we want to use the lake more than.
yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Make use of the lake.
Yeah,
Okay, good. I will talk to the Parks Board next. Another is, well, two other things. I'm bringing it to your attention because I see it all the time. However, I brought it to our staff and, there was a negative response. But I see, so let me just, I'm gonna try to paint it as objective as possible, okay? We are a dog-loving community. I know you know where I'm going. We love dogs, we support dogs. However, we have an ordinance that our ordinance, it clearly defines things on it, like restrained dogs with leashes, picking up the dog poop, and barking, you know, noise violations from neighbors. I don't hear as much about the last one, about the dog barking, because when that happens, they typically will call the police, and the police will deal with it. And I've been involved in a couple of these cases. However, me just walking around town observing, we have a ton of people who walk their dogs without leashes. It has brought to my attention a couple times, it's not a problem where dogs are attacking other dogs. However, it has happened where dogs that were unrestrained did attack another. In fact, it was my neighbor, and it was around the lake, and she had to dive into the lake with her dogs to get these other dogs away from her, who he refused to use a leash. That's a drastic situation. However, I notice a lot that owners are not using leashes. So some are responsible, they're carrying the leash with them, and then they'll hook it when someone comes by on the trail, probably you, and, but there are a lot of them who don't even carry leashes at all because their dogs are obedient and they listen to me, and it just, that's not what our ordinance says, that you're supposed to have it. So, I would like Jess to work on a flyer so that when we see these people, hand them a flyer to say, thank you for being part of our community, I just wanted you to be aware, our Georgetown does have a dog leash law, and, you know, and it's for everyone, not just for people who don't know how to control their dogs. It's for everyone.
who's gonna pass out those flyers?
We haven't determined that. Actually, it could be this board.
No, I,
I don't think so, brother.
Give me some.
So education comes first,
Yeah.
but what does enforcement look like?
Yes, I know, that, because who wants to enforce that, right?
I will say that my mom had a dog that was extremely reactive because he had been abused, and it was super frustrating. We actually stopped walking him most places because people's dogs would just, they'd be like, my dog's friendly, and I'm like, my dog's not.
Right.
My dog will kill your dog.
That's how
And that's honestly the biggest issue, and I totally am cool with people who are like, my dog's fine. Like, I mean, now our dog is super friendly, but it was really hard for him, and I was like, he needs a walk too. Like, it's not fair, you know, that he can't get a walk because you won't carry a leash. So I do respect the need for it, but I think that that's something that, I think it's on the owners to, I mean, I told my mom, I said, if he bites somebody, I don't think it's our fault.
I don't know if the flyer is even a needed step, because I think it's common knowledge that there is a leash ordinance, and my impression was that it was statewide. I don't know if that's correct or not.
I think there's places like Elk Meadow or whatever it was.
But these people who walk their dogs off leash usually are confrontational about it, and you
Yes,
say
they are.
something. And so you're going to put a volunteer or a staff person, in my opinion, in the crossfire by just trying to educate them. I don't think the education component would work with this type of person. They're already ignoring it by choice. I think enforcement is the answer.
Yeah, I think-
And we have that staff infrastructure, and that looks like the local police. to me.
Right, so the police, when we brought this up, they typically don't go after this. And so the only time they do is if a call comes in,
If it's an incident.
it's an incident, then they will respond to it.
It's reactive, not
Yes,
proactive.
correct.
And so, I mean, I could come back to them and say, I need you to start enforcing this. You know, when you see it, be proactive on this, do educational first. But I think the other part too is, the fine, there's 3 fines. I think it's $10, $25, $35 on it. It's not enough teeth to make people, want to enforce this, because it's kind of like, I'll pay the fine. I'm not
Add
gonna
a 0 to each of those numbers at the end. And then sort of-
Plus the $15
Yeah.
I
And the
can't
flyer-
say something of a
If you have
problem.
It's a problem when you get bit or your dog.
But the first thing is though, would be like, hey, the if the officer sees a person, they're not gonna write a ticket. It's an educational opportunity. And so that's what they do right now. It's like, hey, I need you to make sure your dog's on a leash. We have a leash law here. So that would be the first, if they're resistant, I think that's where they would, take it to another level.
When that educational moment happens, is that logged? So we know that person has been contacted, so they don't come back later and say, I didn't know.
Yeah, it's all a matter of record. I mean, you're gonna keep the information of a contact, and if a citation is written, there's record of that.
Yeah, but before a citation, it just, then.
Even a warning, sure. I mean, if it's a written.
I'm bringing all this because I'd like to hear your thoughts on it.
And Rick, there were 2 parts of that we discussed. It was the leash and the dog poop, because I was more focused on the dog poop pickup.
Yeah, I always laugh at when the bag gets left on
Because
the.
that's even worse for the environment. So when I've been going over these things, there's the flyer, there's a handout, so there's 2 parts of that. We could have things just posted around town, just for like a general warning to visitors and people who live here. And then we have the thing that can be passed out. But the other push of it too was, and I've already spoken with Parker, is we could do a little social media of like, hey, this is how you enjoy Georgetown with a dog. It's not, you did something wrong.
Yeah.
It's, this is how we all enjoy our community. And it's Parker, everyone loves Parker. So I'm trying to find a way that isn't too much verbiage on the flyer, that people don't wanna read it, but I also wanna, not throw stones, because my dog does bark, and I know that that's gonna be brought up if I start passing out flyers. So I'm trying to do this tactically. Well, it is an issue, and it should be proactive in some ways.
Yeah, there is a public posting of that ordinance down in Strauss Park. It's on the side of the trash can. So it's in one.
Next to the dog food bag?
Yeah.
No, seriously, we could post those, whatever, I don't go along with the flyers, because I think that's gonna put people, who's gonna pass them out? Nobody's gonna pass
They're
them
gonna
out.
throw the flyer.
Exactly, and then we're gonna be adding to the trash situation, but any kind of signage could be posted already on the poop bag stations or whatever,
Yeah.
or in any other place where we already have some kind of signage, because I respect that we don't need to sign a sign, everywhere's a sign kind of thing, unless it's lit during the business hours. But
That's twice during this meeting. It's too early, okay? It's too early. It's too early.
Happily, there's plenty of, I think if people are cleaning up at the lake, because that's where I've been walking my dog lately, just because it's so nice. And I mean, I realized I forgot poop bags, and I walked by one and I was like, perfect, yeah, and I took, put 3 in my pocket.
Yeah.
So I had a.
I like your Parker idea, sorry.
Yeah, no, exactly, the social media, positive stuff, because I think if people are not cleaning up after their dogs, like being at the lake or at Strauss, I mean, there's one by the, old jail, I think it's honestly willful and just kind of shitty, for lack of a better word.
Sorry, I something to say.
Okay,
I'm so glad I
what I'm
saw.
gathering is, can I go?
Should I have fine? No, okay? One is, I don't have any problem with town promotions getting involved with positive messaging
Yeah.
at all. Don't have anything to do with enforcement, don't want to be passing out flyers,
That's
don't want to be associated with what is not technically our problem. We can do it from an education perspective all day long. Not our job to be out there, handing flyers out to the hooligans like myself, who
You're a hooligan, is that what you're telling us?
Well, I walk my dog off the leash when there's nobody around.
But Tori's also really, and that's the thing, is you have Tori and her excellent recall, and she's a good dog.
So, which is part of the metric that's actually considered for this, is the dog needs to be under control, right?
Mike and Lenka's dogs are really good dogs in their recall.
Yeah, they're not under control.
Oh. My dogs would run
The owners are very reactive.
So, I mean,
I like
I'm
that.
100% agree, the dog needs to be under control. And we need to be responsible pet owners, if
My
a
dog
dog
is
does
a
have
dog.
anger issues, or, issues with other dogs or whatever, they should be under restraint rather than just control. But I guess I gotta ask, did I miss like a pack of dogs running around town that was attacking visitors or something? Like, this seems like an issue that, in the context of some other things that we have to address and discuss, may not necessarily rise to the point where we need to be having just spent 8 hours designing a flyer and a social media campaign.
8 hours.
Well, let's just take 20 minutes of my day. So,
I can see that there was potentially like, it's kind of the usual suspects, again, and I use the lake as the example. Every time I'm at the lake, there's a dog that runs up to us, and and thankfully my dog is not an unfriendly dog, he's a puppy and he's a spaz.
right.
But I've had
It's uncomfortable, I get it.
and I'm like, is your dog cool? Cause if your dog's not cool, you need to get your dog now.
Or an unstable person on their feet, like my mother, who get knocked over.
Yeah, and so I think that, I'm sure but yeah, you're right, it's the bandwidth work.
But back to our mission statement, I think we do have skin in this game, because what we say is to create a positive experience for visitors. It would be a negative experience if my mother got knocked over, or my dog got bit by another dog. So I think it does have to be addressed.
And listen to the passion that came out of that discussion. I mean, it is a controversial topic. And, so it's like, do you only deal with it when an issue happens, or do you have to say no, or do you be proactive?
I think education is great.
So, that's what I was saying.
I think education is great.
I appreciate it. I think we're gonna now go towards the flyer, we're gonna go towards the sign and posting to make sure people
And
understand.
social media.
Education, okay.
Use your flyers as social media.
I think South Touch goes a long way.
I agree, and we don't want guilt and manipulation to be the message. I love the Parker idea. I think that having it like, this is our community, we take pride in our community. This is what Parker does,
If you ever notice too, Parker's always got a leash on.
Parker's
Now,
always-
he may not be attached to a human at the end, but
But he's ready.
but Dustin does the right thing by having that leash on him, in that sense. So that message is kind of subliminal,
Right,
whatever.
so and then the last topic I have is just, and I've talked to Jess a little bit about it, I may have brought it to your attention, but the lake trail area is bad. We walk it frequently, there's trash everywhere. I've noticed, and I've tried to be observant when I walk, usually Mel and I walk in the evenings, but we'll see families come in, they bring their own food, and then they leave some of their trash back. I mean, even stuck into the rocks,
Yes.
And so it's a problem. And so I think one thing that we can do in a positive way is get those signs that say leave no trace.
Pack it in, pack it out.
And I think that that's a positive message. If it's enough around the lake, then people start getting the hint, oh yeah, I need to be responsible. It's not a guilt or manipulation, it's leave no trace. And I believe we can get those signs from bigger groups that do these things, these campaigns. So I think that that's something that we should do.
I would, as a frequent lake trail walker, given the popularity of it now, if we need more trash cans, they need to be more frequent, and I think you will avoid a lot of that. But let's be honest, these people largely are coming from the city, they're used to looking around and seeing trash.
I would also say if we could maybe put some more of an instruction on how to open them. It is comical
Yeah.
to watch these people try and use our trash cans.
I'll put that.
They don't understand it,
They're
like they
beyond
don't, they're like.
They're city boys.
She loves making all those little,
But like, so I mean, some
Like, being the person.
no, like you watch people that are trying to open the trash cans, or
to simplify it, I know that there's some that just have the, like, the clip on there that Parks has to go back and lock. And then there's some that have
Yeah,
the handle, those ones are the struggle bus ones.
Yeah.
They are.
The-
That's struggling.
The other thing that happens that's trash related is, and I see this every year in the Hotel de Paris parking lot, is people throw their food into the parking lot and maybe they think that they're feeding the birds or the squirrels or something. But, right, they're attracting bears. And so, and then people, I don't know how this happens, they can't find the trash cans. They're like, they'll bring stuff and hand it to me at the front desk. Can you throw this away for me? I can't find the trash can. My God, they're as big as a Volkswagen.
I noticed on Sixth Street, there's like none on that side except for the one right by
By
the hotel.
Yeah.
They're all on this side.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the.
We could use one on the south side for sure.
Yeah.
So,
I hate to say it, but
We could
the
just-
color of them too, though, tends to blend in too
Which
well
I'm
sometimes.
sure was the intent.
Exactly, and so we did a great job,
Right,
we did a great job for that.
It's city people who have an idea in their head of what a trash can looks like and ours do not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
So, and then I guess the last thing just to be aware of, our road and bridge team is gonna be trained on how to change outlets on the Argentine poles. And that's gonna happen, I'm gonna say this week. And so once, they're gonna put outlets in the Argentine light poles. So there's place for that. But an electrician's gonna show them how to do it, and that will save us. So they'll do one, but they'll watch them do it. So then we can, replicate that. So it'll save us money, but that should be starting this week to next week.
Is that for Christmas lights?
For Christmas lights, yeah. It'll be 18 poles, 18 outlets going out. I think it'll be like every other pole is what we're doing.
And we need to buy those decorations still?
No, we've already purchased them. They've not been delivered yet. Sometime September-ish is when they're supposed to arrive. So.
And they're gonna match what?
We went to the same company.
Great.
Everything will be the same.
Perfect.
So it'll be unfortunately white. I know that was controversial too, but
Yeah, it was
It
pretty.
ended up being okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Everyone-
Don't start that conversation. Isn't it, it's almost 10 o'clock. It's almost 10 o'clock.
Okay, do we want to table fireworks?
Is that in our black hole?
Or do we want to
I
do
move we
that?
table it till next year.
Yeah. Tradition.
That's what we've done.
So I asked that be put on there just so that we keep it in mind, especially we're gonna be talking about our budget within the next couple of weeks.
Okay,
If we're planning something, we need to plan it now, we all
Can we
talked about that.
direct
So,
us
yeah.
Yes.
get some quotes on that?
Yeah.
So we
I have
have,
a suggestion for Jess. So I'm sure we're familiar with Stone Mountain.
Yes.
Okay, right, so the laser show, could we look into a laser show in addition to drones?
Yeah.
Because maybe a laser show is less expensive than drones.
Well, and to be completely honest with the drones, with the wind and the altitude up here, an 8 to 10 minute show, even if it's an amazing 8 to 10 minute show, which you're not gonna see what you see in China here. It's so good, I can hear people being let down, so I like having either a layer or something better.
Yeah, so, Stone Mountain, Georgia, they have an animated light show on the side of the mountain, and people went nuts over it. Even if it's old technology, it'd be new to us here.
But hey, it's not from the 1800s, it works.
So there's your fireworks discussion.
Okay,
Good enough.
I have one question before we close. On the restrooms, are the restrooms closed?
No.
The public ones, the new ones?
No, they're open.
Because somebody went over there to use them the other day and they said there's a closed sign on there.
It might have been
Because
closed for clean.
Yeah, it may have been for cleaning, but no, they're open.
Maybe.
Because I know they had vandalism there,
Yeah,
so.
close for plates.
Yeah, we did go through a bit of vandalism, and we found out who it was, his kids, and we talked to them, so that's been resolved.
Okay,
They close at 7 PM.
they close at 7 PM. Okay, that's nice to know.
Do you know what time it was?
Maybe eventually.
It was during the day,
The restaurant.
I think it was yesterday or a couple days ago when somebody came in the store and was asking about them. So we just sent them to town hall.
it might have been during the vandalism hit too, that they were trying
Yeah,
to.
they got it resolved.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
There were 4 kids involved,
Oh, no.
middle school, elementary school.
What time did they open?
Oh, dear.
Yeah. You know, that's what happens, we all have that phase in life,
Yeah.
and it was
So they
fun.
close at 7?
Until it's not.
Until it's not.
I wanna say like 8, but I'm not positive if that's Andy or you guys.
Okay, folks, let's focus for the next 5 minutes, please.
I'll try to make it a minute and a half. I just want to give you guys a heads up. I've got Sarah Church, she's met with Jess. But we're working on planning, some winter events, well centered around the lake in collaboration with the town and the CCMRD. We don't have anything hard really except for we definitely want to redo the ice hockey tournament. We'd also like to do an ice fishing tournament down there. And then lastly, we'd like to consider throwing, an early to midwinter, beer festival in there. There's a dearth of those in that period of time. We think we can take advantage of visitorship around the Christmas timeframe, not Christmas market, but around that timeframe, and probably get a lot of interest. Nothing huge, but maybe more of an invitational kind of thing where it's really kind of a very special event where these brewers would bring season appropriate kind of beers from their breweries.
Outdoor, so.
It would be outdoors, but we would probably do a tent, like over here.
So if
maybe
you do
not
the
quite.
third weekend, maybe we should talk to Butler
Yeah.
and extend that.
We've talked about that third weekend. It is
Yeah.
it might be a nice way.
So how about my people and your people talk later today?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Are we doing ice skating, on the lagoon during the winter, like we did last year?
I think the plan is that we would like to do that little tiny ice rink, is make sure that we smooth that out. That's down by the lake. You know, there's
On the
originally
lagoon
plans
side?
was that again?
On the lagoon side?
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
lagoon side.
no,
The dredge
on
side.
the big side.
Oh, really?
22nd Street, there's a little cutout that was designed to be a little ice skate rink, is what we're talking about as doing there. But the lagoon side, I think we were wanting to partition ice skating there too for hockey and things like pond hockey. So I think we're gonna try to look at that and not purchase a liner for the dog park.
I'd like to see us capitalize on that during the winter, like Evergreen Desert.
It's costing us $1,500 for the liner every year, and it gets trashed.
Yeah.
And so what happens is, the bottom part of the liner's fine, it's the sides.
Yeah.
And so skaters will hit that, and hockey puck hits it, and so it destroys. And so, it's hard to justify that every year when we could easily put that into the lake and keep that going. And even possibly, you know, using the monies to buy some kind of Zamboni to make, if this is gonna be a permanent thing, that just makes more sense.
That
We
would
already
be
have-
great. Yeah.
Okay,
That's the stuff.
anything else? We got hustle, folks. Minutes approval for July 5th, 2023. I hope you've all had a chance to look at it. If not, look over it now.
So I cleaned up a few little corrections I sent to Jen, but I mean, they were super little minor things, so.
Okay, already done?
Yeah.
Okay, good, okay. All right, so, do I have a motion to approve the minutes for July 5th, 2023?
That's corrected.
That's correct.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been, proposed, seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Okay.
All right.
All right, folks, thank you. Good meeting. Got through it.